All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Robert Evans. I am here to talk to you about a message that started me off into the world as a messenger. It was about 15 years ago. I was an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and for up until that point, I was just kind of that behind-the-scenes entrepreneur, if you guys know what I mean. It meant that I ran businesses and I did things, and I didn't really kind of put myself out there publicly. I was a bit of a shy kid growing up in high school, and kind of broke out of that a little bit when I went to college and started taking acting classes and started doing things there. But I was still kind of that shy person, and I was always had that entrepreneur spirit. And about 20 years ago, I started a company called Pass Along Concepts. And Pass Along Concepts is an idea in which we would help messengers get their message out in the world using very unique viral marketing products. Viral marketing meaning these are products that people would get and they would share and continue to share from one person to the next to spread that message and connect all those people together. And it was ended up being a really big business for me, and part of it was me being a part of the spiritual and personal development world for a number of years before that, where I would work with some well-known spiritual authors and helping them spread their message. And so when I started Pass Along Concepts, I had this great idea of being able to do this. But that business, as successful as it was still just kind of the business face. There was only a business face to the whole thing. It wasn't Robert Evans running it or Robert Evans behind it. It was just Pass Along Concepts. Whenever I would send out an email, then it would be from Pass Along Concepts, which is different for a lot of us today. If we are the messenger of our message, we want to kind of be in front. We want to send personal emails. We want people to be connected to us. But that just wasn't the case back then. And so, but I still was able to really build this successful business. I think at the time that I had this kind of huge shift in my own journey to be a messenger, we had an email list of around 100,000 people. So it was really a big community of people. And at that time, there was this movie or documentary that came out called The Secret. And how many of you have heard of The Secret? Yeah, most, all, yes. So The Secret, of course, is all about the law of attraction. And what I loved about The Secret was it brought this idea that we can attract into our life consciously the things that we want. And it brought it into the mainstream. It brought it into the mindset of not just the spiritual woo-woo people, as we call it in the woo-woo world, but it brought it to everybody. And that's why that movie became so big, because I think people in general were looking for ideas and ways and strategies and messages that would help them manifest and live their dream life. And The Secret was able to do that in a lot of ways. And there were also a lot of different aspects of The Secret that were too simple. That there's the plus and minuses on on both sides. Ben, can you bring me my water? Could you put it up on the table there? Cool. I know I'm going to need it here. So but I was like, oh, I'm so into this idea of the law of attraction and manifesting that I was just really consumed with it. But I also had my own ideas about it. I had my thoughts of, well, you can't just sit on the couch and manifest whatever you want. You have to do something. There has to be something that happens there. So I was kind of percolating inside of myself. What could that be? How do I take this to the next level for myself personally? And this kind of led up to this moment where, because I had this big company and I was working with these known spiritual authors, I collaborated on a project with a spiritual author on pulling into a conference call series. So this is back in the day when there wasn't Zoom, there wasn't Facebook Live, there wasn't even Facebook. Oh, those were the days, right? It was in the days when people gathered at freeconferencecalling.com. You guys remember those days? Yeah, so free conference. So what we did is that we went out there and we found 5 of the stars, 5 people that were in The Secret, to get on a 5-part series in which this person that I was collaborating with would interview them and talk to them about the law of attraction. What was maybe missing, or what was kind of the expansion of what was talked about in The Secret. And so, and there were, some of these were really big name people. And we promoted that out there, and this was at the height of, everybody excited about the law of attraction. We promoted that out there, and we got 15,000 people to sign up for that call. And I, being the person behind the scenes that was responsible for making sure this thing happened, was going to be the one that had to figure out, how the hell do I get that many people on a conference call, right? Without spending a fortune, because you could actually, back then you can get 1,000 people on a line, right? And how do you get, the thing back then is if you had 15,000, you're going to get half of them showing up for the call. The rest maybe listen to the recording or whatever. So I had to figure out how to get 7,000 or 8,000 people on a conference call to listen to these people talk. And I figured that out, basically just kind of jerry-rigging 7 different, phone numbers together and patching them in through 3-way calling. It was pretty brilliant, if I have to say so myself. And we did this series, but we got to the end of the series, and as I was listening to all these people talk, and I'm behind the scenes. I am the tech moderator. I'm the one that stays quiet, makes sure everything goes well. But we get to this last person who happened to be the most inspiring person, in my opinion, on The Secret, and it was Michael Beckwith. How many of you know who Michael Beckwith is, right? Michael Beckwith, amazing. And so they were talking, and while they were talking, I experienced something that I had never experienced before as an entrepreneur. And I experienced the want to be more than what I was in that moment, in that particular capacity. What do I mean by that? It means that I in that role was the technical person that made sure things happened, right? But I wanted to share my own ideas, because I'm listening to them talk about this, and internally I was going, yeah, but what about this? And what about this? And I just felt like this pull from me to do something. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? I mean, I could usually do that behind the scenes, okay, but to really want to come forth into the space to share my own thoughts and my own feelings and opinions about that was a pretty big move. And I had that kind of devil and angel experience where, I had the devil on one side just saying, jump in and just say what you got to say. And the angels all, no, you can't do that. You have to do what you're supposed to do. And I found that whole experience just really interesting and undeniable. I stayed quiet because I did have a role and I wanted to respect my role. But when I got off that call, I knew that I couldn't stifle that voice. And that voice is what I called my inner messenger, what I end up calling my inner messenger. I couldn't stifle that anymore. And I sat down and I went through a process that I call the journal conversation. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit today because I've integrated into this process because it's a great manifesting tool. The journal conversation is a conversation between the two sides of myself through a series of questions and answers. Question, answer, question, answer. Because what I've discovered over the years in personal development work and in transformational work, that questions are the answer. That means if you want to find something for yourself, if you want to solve a particular problem in your life or find something in your life, you just have to start asking questions. And the answers will come from the questions. You can't get an answer without that prompt, right? And so the journal conversation was me sitting down and going, where did this come from? And, what do you really want? And, and what came out was, I want to share my own message. I want to step up. I want to talk to people about the law of attraction. I wanted to own my messenger-ness, right? And prior to this, being around all these great people that I'd worked with, these best-selling authors and these speakers in front of hundreds to thousands of people, I had limited myself by having these rules and beliefs. The rules were, well, you can't be a messenger until you write that book. Or that belief is, I can't really step up to that level until, people know my name or whatever. I've had probably about a half a dozen rules. And through the journal conversation, I was discovering what was holding me back. And then I came up with one question in that journal conversation. I said, what if you just threw all of that out? Then what? What if you just threw out those rules, those beliefs? You don't need to write a book. You don't need to be known. None of that sort of thing. And you just shared your message and you invited people into your world to hear your message. Then what? And the answer became really clear. Well, then I would be a messenger. Then I need to do this because I can't hold this back anymore. So very nervously, I went out to my email list and I said, hey, everybody, by the way, my name is Robert, because again, I wasn't that public-facing person in my company. My name is Robert. I'm the one that's kind of behind this pass-along concept idea. And I was thinking the other day about the law of attraction, and I was thinking, if there was something that we could add to the law of attraction to make it more powerful, what would that be? And the other side of the thing that I was really learning about was habits, creating habits. So I said, wow, what if I created habits that activated law of attraction, and would that make things more powerful? I'm like, yeah, it could be the habit of attraction. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's my name. So that's the name of my message. So I went out to my list and I said, everybody, I have this message. I don't know if any of you are interested in hearing about it, but I'm going to do a free call. It's like a 60-minute call. If you want to jump on, go here and register, totally free. And it's called The Habit of Attraction, Combining Habit Creation with Law of Attraction Principles to Manifest Your Life, right? And I told myself, God, if I could just get 50, 60 people to sign up for this, then I probably have 10, 20, or 30 people that I could talk to about this. And how cool would that be? And I got, what did I get? 1,500 people that registered for that call, 1,500 people. And that was thrilling, but that was also my oh shit moment. Like, I'm not going to talk to, I knew just based off of numbers, 700 or so people were going to show up for that call. Very different mindset shift in thinking you're going to talk to 20 or 30 people or whatever to 700. And so, and I can't imagine what it would have been like back then if I had to jump on video and talk about it, right? So thank God for conference calling back then. So I said, yeah, but you know what? This is what you call forth. You better show up and you do the best. Don't expect perfection. And I didn't even, by the way, here's the thing. I didn't even have the structure or the idea or anything around the habit of attraction. You know what I had? I had a name. And I had a belief that I could put something underneath it. Now, for those that know me, a couple people in the back of the room know me, that's pretty typical of Robert today, right? So I usually kind of come up with something and I throw my hat in the ring and just go do it before even figuring out what I'm going to do. And that works for me, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's a great way of moving past the inertia that holds a lot of us back from really, really doing things that we really want to do. So that call came up. I did the call. Wasn't great, but I did it. And the principles of what I shared were solid. And I think that's what really people appreciated it. And when I say it wasn't great, it wasn't just kind of my own internal things. I literally got emails from people saying, yeah, it was pretty good, but I just had a hard time listening to you. There were a lot of ands and ums and that sort of thing. I'm like, oh God, I really appreciate the honesty, but so that was great. I got through that, shared the recording. I know probably a couple hundred more people listened to that. And then I had the next really big moment in the messenger journey. And that was to make the decision to go from just sharing a message, which is easy to do, free, because there's a particular energy to that. Yes, you break through that, but now I want to share the message deeper, and I want people to pay me for it, right? I mean, I made a lot of money in my business selling the products, and I had no problem with that, but now I'm going to be bold and ask people to give me money to listen to me, for me to train them on this idea that I'm just kind of flushing out now. And that voice said, yeah, get to it, buddy. Make it happen. You've committed to this. You don't fall short on this. And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people have ideas and messages and that sort of thing, and they don't take it to that degree in which you're going to be able to create in your life the resources and the paths or the people, the income that's going to help you grow that and make that even bigger to reach even more people. And so I knew that if I'm going to play big, I better play big. So I said, okay, I went out to those 1,400 people. I said, hopefully you had a chance to listen to this. I've decided what I want to do is I want to teach a deep dive into the habit of attraction. And this is going to show up in an 8-week seminar, workshop, and I'm going to charge, what did I say I was going to charge? I think it was like $199 for the 8 weeks. And if you want coaching from me, which is limited number of spots, then it's $495. It was like cheap, right? $195 and $495. And I said, and then I had that internal dialogue again that said, man, if you could just get like 4 or 5 people to sign up, then you'd make $1,000 or $2,000. It'd be totally worth your time, and yay. You know, and that I set my kind of the expectations low, but I was also in doubt of whether or not it would even happen in the first place. You have that nervous of like, will people respond? And the result was 60 people signed up, and I generated $15,000 for this first time in my life with my message. And I showed up every week, I delivered, I coached, and I transformed people's lives. In fact, there was some people that were in that event who changed, that manifested a path that has now put them on a path of reaching hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. There's a couple people that actually really launched their career because of the habit of attraction. And you know what? I own that as part of my ripple of change. And that keeps me going. It's not just the 60 people that I reach, but it's all the people that they reach as a result of the things that they manifested and the things that they brought forth in their life through the teachings that I had through the habit of attraction. That was my story of how I got to this. Now, the wrap up of that story was, I said to myself, if that is where I was at, right, I bet you there are probably a ton of people out there that are feeling the same way. They're held back by their beliefs, their rules around, can I do this, or should I do this, or am I allowed to do this, or whatever. And I said, I bet you there are just millions of people that want to be a messenger. And so I put out a new message, and in the subject line, and to this date, this was the most responsive subject line of an email that I ever sent out. And I have people that had emailed me, dozens of people that emailed me and said, wow, you caught my attention. And this was simply the subject of the email. Are you a messenger? ? Right? And I knew that there were going to be a lot of people there. So from that, I decided to shift gears, close down the pass along concepts, which was just printing books and printing cards and that sort of thing. Start a new company called the Messenger Network. And for 5 years, I did big things in the Messenger Network world, built another community of 130,000 people and changed lives, made millions of dollars, all because I listened to that calling to step into my own message. So maybe today is partially about habit of attraction, but it's also probably partially about the calling that you have in your own soul in bringing your message out into the world. And if there's anything that's holding you back right now, sit down, have that journal conversation, ask those right questions, and then just leap, right? There's this really famous quote, Jackie, I think this is one of the posters that you have. I think it's like, the quote is, it says, come to the edge. No, I don't want to, I'm scared. Come to the edge. No, I might fall. Come to the edge. So they came to the edge, they were pushed and they flew, right? See, we're often held back on walking up and owning and being at the edge of our life, thinking that if I go any further than this, everything's going to fall apart. And the truth is, we just have to leap into the trust and into the abyss to really live our fullest potential, to really live our purpose. And so, habit of attraction was the catalyst that started that for me. And I want to kind of bring that back. So I was watching these videos on Vimeo that were recorded 12 years ago, and oh my God, I'm like, first off, no gray hair. I was like, this is weird, So seeing myself like that, and I wore a sports jacket. I don't ever wear a sports jacket, people. I mean, I'm just not that kind of person. But it just kind of brought back a lot of memories, and I'm really excited to talk to you about that right now. So let's talk about the habit of attraction. Yeah, like I said, I've kind of rebranded it a little bit because habit of attraction really plays into a message that I have now called Live Your List. And when I say live your list, I'm not talking about living your email list. For God's sake, let's not live our email list, right? I'm talking about living your bucket list or your life list. And so the habit attraction is a manifesting process for you to living your dream life. And a life list is that dream life in list form. It's that raw version of, well, these are all the things that I want. And a lot of people think about bucket list as, well, this is where I want to travel and this is the adventure that I want to have. I say it's so much more than that. It's about it's about the health that you want. It's about the relationships that you want, the love that you want, the family that you want, the contribution that you want, the travel, the adventure, all of that. It's the encompassing. It's the list of what your dream life is like. And I never sat down and I never put together a bucket list for myself until about 10 years ago. I was at the end of the Messenger network. And at the end of the Messenger network, I was like, I'm really tired of sitting in front of the computer all the time. I want to be out in the world. And so I sold that company and I started a new company where I traveled around the world filming transformational leaders go through amazing experiences in like Africa and Ecuador and Costa Rica. And all of that came about from me sitting down and writing out my bucket list. So these are triggers. These are things that launch us into the stratosphere of our life. And it's as simple as just doing that kind of work. Curious, in the room here, how many of you have actually written out a bucket list, a real detailed bucket list? Couple people, yeah. So, and that's what I found over the years in talking about living your list is that simple thing, which is so inspiring and so powerful to go through and writing down, but also to look at on a consistent basis and even pick one out and work on it every once in a while. It is life transforming. It's just, it's mind blowing. But when you do have something on your list, just having it on your list and thinking about it and wishing it and maybe half-ass doing it is not going to get you the real experience of it. So that's when I realized, well, in order for us to have experiences of things on our list, whether they're small or big, and maybe the smalls are a little bit easier, but the bigger ones, the big things that we want in our life, we tend to need to put a lot more into that. We tend to need to attract either the finances or the people, or the places or the things that will allow us to have that experience. And I'm like, oh, well, I got a manifesting process that does exactly that. And so I integrated into the Live Your List process the habit of attraction. So habit attraction works because it's based off of 4 different principles. I'm going to give you these 4 principles now. The first principle is to acknowledge and understand that it's all in the energy. It's all in the energy. And what I mean by that is that everything, our thoughts, words, feelings, actions, the physical things that are around us, the people, the energy exchange between people is all energy. Everything is energy flowing, right? And we are receiving and sending off energy, and we are attracting and repelling energy at the same time, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously. It's all in the energy. So when you want something to come into your life and you need to figure out how you're going to make that happen, then there is going to be you having energy go out that's going to attract or magnetize the energy of the things that's going to make that possible. So let's say, for example, I want to have some experience and I don't know how to go about doing this, and I really start thinking about it. I start meditating on it, or I'm like, it's just on my mind at all times. And it's just like with anything else, like even finding a parking spot, right? When you put that much thought into it, what is that? That's energy flowing out. That's energy flowing out. And it's either subtly without you knowing, or in a moment, all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, this person's here, and this is the person I've been thinking about, or this is the resource that I've been thinking about, or the money that I've been needed. That's just our energy that's going out, finding it and bringing it back into our life. So there's this flow out, this flow in, but the flow in is, it needs to build in energetic vibration, meaning that one thought may not be enough to attract something that is going to give you a bigger experience. It means that you'll need to have multiple thoughts or multiple things, energy coming into you. And as that comes in, think about it like a ball of light, right? We have the thought, this is what I want. The light is activated. And it's just this little dot of light here. And then you start doing certain things that's flowing energy out to attract that. And as that stuff comes in, this light starts to grow and grow and grow. What is that? That's the vibrational energy of what's going to make up and attract the thing that you will really want, or the components that are going to make that thing possible. And as you do that consistently, then that grows, and then you get to that point of manifestation. The people, the places, the things, the resources start showing up, and whether it's obvious or, wow, this is a big surprise, start showing up, and then you can actually have that experience. Then you go on that trip, or you can attract that person into your life, or you can make that amount of money because people are feeling magnetized to you, whether they know it or not. That's happening. There's this magnetism that's coming back and forth between you and that person, or that group of people that are going to pay money to be a part of your message, or whatever that case may be. So when you can really just kind of sit there and go, okay, if it's all about energy, then my job, in order for me to manifest my dream life, the items that are on my life list, is to exude energy that is like vibration, of that vibration. Because when you there was a vibrational scale of energies. Jerry and Esther Hicks, I think, published this a number of years ago, where there is low vibration energy that's like anger and resentment and jealousy and that sort of thing. And then it goes up in scale to the point where you're getting up to gratitude and joy and happiness and love and that sort of thing. Those are the higher vibrations. Now, the truth is, with energy, we attract a lot of things into our life that don't feel good. That can often be related to maybe what's going on in our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions in our world that's attracting that into our life. And that's not always the case, because sometimes things come into our life because they are the things that we need in order for us to evolve as that person, in order to attract, in order to be the next version of ourselves as those good or bad things happen. But when you are consciously aware that you are a magnet of energy that's going to give us exactly what I want, and you do things to continually pull that forth to yourself, then you become a great manifester. So the first principle is just to really understand, acknowledge, and understand that it's all in the energy. The second principle is to be consistent with whatever you're going to do in order to be able to attract, manifest in your life. Be consistent. This is where habits come in, the habit of attraction. Habits are those things that you do, whether they're intentional and planned and organized, that make sure that they happen, or they get to the point where they're kind of automatic. I get in the habit of getting up in the morning and doing a meditation, or I get in the habit of, when I'm out in public, I'm joyful and connective and nice to the people that are around me, because people are surrounded by a lot of low vibration energy all the time, especially in the service industry. Just a real quick story, because I think this is really important to understand energy, and being in the habit of it, is when we had pass along concepts, we had a card. If a card the size of a business card, they were called pass along cards. And on one side of the card there was a message, and on the other side of the card was a website and a number, that for that specific single card that you're holding in hand, there was a number, so that you could hand that to someone so that they could receive that message. And then it would tell them, go track this card, see where it's been, and then pass it along to the next person and watch where it goes. That was the whole concept of pass along concepts, right? So the card that we had the most, I think we shipped over 200,000 of these cards all around the world, was this simple message. And I saw this transform people's lives, complete strangers, so many times. And the card said this: thank you for being who you are and doing what you do. Who you are is wonderful, and what you do is important. It's that simple thing. And I would be out with those cards in my pocket or my wallet, and I would go up and I would just go into a store. Or I remember one time I went to the airport, and I was on the shuttle to get from the parking lot to the airport, and the lady that was driving the bus was clearly in a really bad mood. Someone probably was a real, not nice person to them, and you could just tell that she was not in the mood. So as I was getting off the bus, I just handed her this card. I said, I just wanted you to have this, and got off the bus, and I was there to pick someone up, right? And I didn't sit around and go, oh, I wonder what she's going to think of that. I just wanted to do it because I know how powerful a moment like that is. I know how powerful acknowledgement is. In fact, I think people back then, and even probably more so today, are acknowledged starved. They're starving to be seen and acknowledged and by people. They might not even be getting it at home, and they're most definitely usually not getting it from complete strangers. So I got off that bus, I went in, I was probably in there about a half an hour, I found the person I was picking up, came back and got the bus again, and it happened to be her on the bus. And her energy completely changed. I got on the bus, and she just kind of looked at me as I was getting on, smiled at me, and we went and sat in the seat. And she was about to drive, she just stopped, and she turned around and she says, thank you so much for that card. That really made a difference for me, right? I'm like, cool, that's awesome. And it's just moments like that that's really powerful. So the point of that is that is me energy. I mean, that's me putting out that kind of energy, and I know that I could probably find in that moment of my life, what did that do for the rest of my day? It made my day lit too. She was lit, I was lit, what a great day. And that's what we're seeking for. We're really seeking for transformational, awesome days in our lives. So the be consistent principle is that if you were to do things consistently in connection to the desire that you have. The desire could be a single item on your life list, for example. Maybe it's to make money, or maybe it's to lose weight, maybe it's to attract a person, a relationship into your life, maybe it's to do something in business or something with family or whatever. Any item on your list is something that you may not be experiencing now that you want to experience. It's a desire that you have to experience, and if you just start putting energy out there towards that, thinking of that, it's going to start attracting the things that's going to make that possible. So the habit part is, how do I get in the habit of activating energy every single day, multiple times a day? What are the things that I'm going to do towards that specific thing that I want? So when I write out my life list, I go on that list and I go, okay, what do I want to experience now? And there are things at different levels. There's, I call level 1 desires. Those are like, those are probably the easier ones to do. And then there are level 5 desires. Those are the ones that feel like, this is really hard. How am I going to get it? I don't know how I'm going to track this to me. So I'm just, my job though, whatever I choose is to continually put out that energy, to be consistent. So that's second principle, is be consistent. Activate, put things in place that create habits that activate, send, and bring energy back to you. But the third principle kind of comes back to, you must keep it simple. Because if there's anything that kills consistency, it's complicating things, right? It's no more true than today, because we are constantly distracted and bombarded by everything under the sun. So you got to keep it simple. It got to be simple enough. If I'm going to do something that's going to send energy out there, if it should be something like this 30 seconds long, right? Or a couple minutes in the morning, a couple minutes at night, or whatever the case may be. Keep it simple so that you can be consistent. So that's the third principle. The fourth principle is, you must know your destination. You can't just willy-nilly throw out energy in the universe and then expect, well, why didn't that one thing come up if there was no energy directed towards that one thing? Why didn't that come into my life if all you're doing is just doing, in general, thoughts, words, feelings, and actions around whatever? Now, you might get some of those smaller level 1 desires to come into your life, but it doesn't necessarily mean the bigger ones, the ones that you really want to experience. So to know your destination is to just pick from your list what you want. That's your destination. If my destination is to, make $1 million in my business, that's the thing I have on my list. My destination is when I made $1 million in my business in that year that I set out to do. Okay? So what we do with the habit of attraction is we write what's called a desire statement. And a desire statement is it's like an affirmation of sorts, but it's a statement of what you want to attract to you and how that makes you feel, and an ownership that it already exists. You're just pulling it into your life right now. Because I believe that all things that we want already exist out there. It just hasn't been brought into our life in the form that we want it to be in, the experience. That's what we're looking for, is the experience. So there are three parts of a desire statement. So a desire statement are like 3 sentences, 3 to 4 sentences long. And the first part of the desire statement, give me a second, let me get a water here. The first part of a desire statement is the specific description of the desire that you want, the desire that you have, by when you would like to have it, and written as if it is already so. Okay? Yes, the specific description of the desire, by when that desire, you want that desire to be a part of your life or be an experience in your life, and written, that part written as if it is already so. So this is how what I mean by that. You're not saying out to the universe, hey universe, I desire, I want this thing to come into my life. I want this $1 million to come into my life by the end of 2023 or 24 or whatever. Because, as they say in law of attraction, what you get is, well, if you say I want, you're going to get more of the I want, right? So when you make the statement as if it is already so, you're acknowledging that it is so, and you're being grateful for that. So what I usually like to say is I'm grateful that I'm attracting $1 million into my life by the end of 2024, and then it continues on. So whether the as if it is already so could be in gratitude or an acknowledgement or whatever that might be. So I am grateful for, I'm excited that that the people, places, or things are coming into place for me to make $1 million, or I'm thrilled that the person that I'm attracting into my life is already out there and that they're getting closer and closer to me, that type of thing, and I will be with that person by the end of this time or whatever. And most times having a time frame really works, because you're laying the rules down to the universe. Hey, universe, you know what? I'm attracting this, and I'm attracting it by this time. And the universe is like, okay, we hear you. We're going to send you the things that need to happen. Sometimes you don't need to have a date, but a date tends to be a lot more powerful. So that's the first sentence in your desire statement. The specific description of that desire. I want, or not I want. I'm grateful for, I'm excited, I'm attracting to, I'm pulling forth this thing by this time, okay? The second part of the desire statement is the feeling you have when you believe that this is already so. The feeling that you have. So one of my mentors, someone that I worked with a lot and changed my life, is a spiritual author by the name of Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote a series of books called Conversations with God. And in Conversations with God, there are dozens and dozens of transformational moments in there that I integrated in my life. But one of them in there is a statement that says, feelings are the language of the soul, right? And so when you either acknowledge the feelings that you're having, or you acknowledge the feelings that you are having when you think that this is already so. If I close my eyes, and this is the process to figure out what this is. When I close my eyes and I think about whatever that desire is, that money, that person, that experience, and I think about it, I see myself having that experience, I see people around me having that experience with me, and I ask myself, how does that make me feel, right? So, and what happens is that when you do that in that space and you really open yourself up to it, you're going to get words that are going to come to you like, I feel empowered, I feel in love, I feel abundant, I feel excited. Those are what we call feeling words, okay? And those are those feeling words, those feelings are energy, right? And that's what's connected to that desire that you have. So that second part of that statement is, I feel excited and ready to be in love and on this journey with someone else. I feel ready to or excited to have this abundance so that I can make a bigger difference in the world, so I can live abundantly, so I can give to my family or whatever. Okay? So acknowledge, and it could be one feeling, it could be multiple feelings. But you're going to understand here, once you have this desire statement, you're going to understand what you're going to do with it and how powerful it will be. And then the last part of the statement is kind of a continuation of that, could be another sentence or whatever, is what is the purpose of this desire for you, and what is the impact that it has on either the people around you or the people that it's connected to? So, like for example, if I have a desire that I want to write a book and have 100,000 people download or read my book. So the purpose of that for me is me having my purpose, my message, my mission in motion in people's lives and to reach people. But I have 100,000 people that have got that book, so there's an impact on them. And if I acknowledge the impact on them in my own statement, it'll make me want that even more. It'll attract those people to me. I believe without a doubt that if I say 100,000 people and I really connect with that, and I think about that book and I think about people reading it, you know what's happening? I believe that there's energy being sent out to 100,000 people that's seeking those 100,000 people. And as the people, places, and things start to show up, they're going to walk into the bookstore, they're going to get an email from their friend, they're going to have someone hand them a gift or whatever, and it's going to be my book. And they're not even going to know it. But I'm the one that made that happen. So the purpose for yourself, what's the purpose of this desire? What is the meaning to you? And then if there's people around you that will be impacted, so if I had a family, for example, and I manifested $1 million, I'm bringing abundance into my family. We can live, in a way that really allows us to do things, to travel or whatever. Or if I'm building a company and then my employees get to benefit and that sort of thing. And I want to acknowledge that once again, because they're part of the process that's happening here. And then you kind of pull that together. So you have a statement that says, I'm grateful that the person that I'm meant to be with, that I will feel very connected, will be coming into my life before the end of 2023. It makes me feel excited, in love, and joyous because I get to play with someone in my life and do great things. And this will allow me to just kind of live the next level of to be outside of my own aloneness, to share my life with other people, and both of us get to be transformed. Something like that. So I'm just doing this off the cuff, right? But if you sit down and you spend a little bit of time with writing out that statement, those three parts, you now have a statement. It's like a mantra or whatever. Once you've done that, now you have what's called an energy activation tool. Every single time that you read that statement, you're activating energy towards the person, place, or thing, or experience to come forth to you. Every time that you read it. Conversations with God also taught me that we have our thoughts, our words, our feelings, and our actions. When any of those things are not aligned with each other, we find conflict and often a repel of whatever we're having, whatever we're trying to have. When you align those four things, when your thoughts are, there's someone out there for me. When your feelings are, I'm very excited about that, I'm really looking forward to that. When your words are saying, yeah, you know what, I really believe that, and you're talking to your friends or your family or whatever, I think, I've just been working on really manifesting this person, I think they're going to be here by this time. And then your actions, meaning that you can't sit in the house and do nothing and have this person, because then that's where a lot of manifestation gets stuck, right? We sit there and go, yes, I'm thinking it, I'm saying it, but I'm just not willing to really do anything about it because you know what? Because that person is going to come and knock on my door. There's this kind of belief that makes that desire and the manifestation of that desire a lot harder. So actions is critical in there. And on the flip side, you could do as much as you want, but while you're doing it, if you're thinking, this is probably never going to happen, or I'm not really good at this, or there's not that person out there, even if you're not saying those words, but those are the feelings or the thoughts that are going on, you have a disconnect there. So when you align those thoughts, words, feelings, and actions together, and that's what the desire statement starts to do, then magic happens. Okay? So in the habit of attraction, when I created this a long time ago, I ended up coming up with 25 different energy activation tools. All simple, because you have to be simple. All you can create a habit around, and all capable of pulling forth that experience in your life. Now, the good news is you don't have to do all 25 of them, because boy, would that be something. But they're options, right? What I found in just kind of working with people and in my own life is that if I could do just like 4 or 5 of these consistently, if I can make 4 or 5 of these a habit for myself, and I made it simple, I made it available to me, then that's all I really needed. But, and I'm not going to give you all 25 now because I don't have time, but I want to talk about a few of them here. The first one is your desire statement. That's its own tool right there. And I would say this is probably one of the most important and most powerful tools here. And all you have to do is read that statement. Wake up in the morning, and how do you make this a habit? Put it in a place where you will see it and you will read it. Right? How many of you go, stand in front of the sink in the bathroom, right? Well, write that up, print it out, and put it on that mirror. And when you go up there to brush your teeth, just sit there and go, my desire statement is this, and read it. And you can read it out loud, which has some power to it, or you can read it in your head. But in that moment, you have activated energy. And it's starting to throw out into the universe. Okay, we're looking for you. We're looking for you. Oh, here's this. And it's coming back to you. And this is building and building and building. The next thing you know, you're walking down the street and you meet that person. Or you open up your mailbox and there's that check that's in there. Or you get that phone call or that email saying, hey, I really want to work with you. How do we make this happen? That's all happening from the energy that you're putting out there. So write that desire statement and read it. I would say even read it multiple times a day, because every time you do that, you're activating energy, you're sending energy out there. So the desire statement is one of the first tools. And then thoughts, words, and feelings and actions, and to think along that line. So when you get to that point where you're really consciously thinking about that, make sure when you're thinking about that, you're not saying the words that are opposite of that. Make sure that there's some kind of action that you got in your calendar that you're going to do that's going to move you a step closer to that thing that you're looking to, that you desire. I have another one called the morning meditation, or actually I call it the morning feeling meditation. And this is simple. It's like a 5-minute meditation. When you wake up in the morning, after a shower or whatever, I definitely need a shower because I'm still half asleep, but after whatever, when you have some moments where you can close your eyes and not fall asleep again, what you do is that you just close your eyes and you see in your mind's eye that thing being your experience. You see it. You see yourself with that money in your bank account. You see yourself holding that person's hand. You see yourself on that adventure in that country or whatever. Just see it, see it, see it, see it. And when you're doing that, and as you start to visualize that and feel that and experience that in your mind's eye, feelings will start to be activated. And once you're done, after doing that for a few minutes, then write down what you felt. Those are the feeling words, because the feeling words are things that if you connect with those words, that's one of the other. I picked this up and I didn't take a drink. Feeling words are a whole nother tool. So if I have like a word of like, if the word love, or if the feeling of love constantly comes up, and I'm like, that's a feeling word for me. So if I just took that word love and I just put it around in my space, every time I see it, what am I doing? I'm activating a thought and a feeling and an energy going out. That's what it's really all about. These little simple things that you can do combine them all together, and you become a magnet to your desires. So then you got the evening, what I call evening gratitude meditation. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational energies and feelings that you can have. So at the end of the day, close your eyes for 5 minutes, think about the day, think about all the things that you're grateful for, think about and that what you're grateful for of that desire already being so, and that you're just bringing it forth into your life, and that it's coming and it'll be here any day, or whatever the case may be. Just being gratitude, feel gratitude, because that is one of the best energies that you can send out into the universe. The journal conversation, I briefly mentioned this. The journal conversation is one of my favorite things in life in general, but it's incredibly powerful for this. And this is how the journal conversation works. So the first thing you do is that you just sit down with a paper and pen or whatever. It's usually better to write this out, because there is an energy to the writing words. I know that we're all used to. My handwriting sucks nowadays because I'm always on the computer. But when I write out, there's an energy that's flowing from that process. And the journal conversation is me in this journal having a conversation with myself. I visualize stepping outside of myself, facing myself, and I'm just going to have this conversation. This conversation is going to come in the form of I'm going to ask a question, and then there's going to be an answer, and then a question, and then an answer. And I'm going to go for however long the wisdom flows, and when I feel complete, I'm done. So, and if you're like, sometimes you'll sit in that journal conversation and go, okay, Robert, let's do this. And you'll know exactly the question that you want to ask. And that question might be like, what the fuck, right? Why is this going on? Or when's this going to happen, or whatever. It doesn't have to be, high positive, thing. You can be in a terrible mood or have things going on in your life, and this conversation is going to help you move through that, right? Or it could just simply be this question. This is one of the best ways to start off a journal conversation with yourself if you don't know that first question. And that question is, how are you feeling today? Right? Well, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling excited. Well, what are you feeling excited about? You see the kind of the flow? Well, this happened, this happened, this happened. Well, what does that mean to you? Well, it means this, means this, means this. Great. Well, what can you do with that? How can you turn that into something? Well, I could probably do this, and this. The freaking wisdom that comes through and the answers that happens from you doing that process is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. It works in all areas of life, from when you're up to when you're down, to business, to personal, to relationships, to health and wellness, whatever. Every area of your life, the journal conversation is powerful, because we do truly have the wisdom within us to help us ourselves get through things. So I call that journal conversation. And by the way, that is all just an energy flow. Again, I'm activating energy. And if I have a specific conversation about the desire that I have, or what's going on in regards to that desire coming into my life, then I'm moving through and activating and transforming my energy. And that is kind of the combination of a separate thing that you do, which I call questions are the answer. Well, if you don't know what the answer is, ask the right questions. Shift the questions around, and you'll get to the right answer. This next tool is called Be the Source. This is another message that I got from Conversations with God. And Be the Source is simply this. Be the source to another that which you would like to have or experience in your own life. And it's a bit counterintuitive to the traditional world that most of us live in. How can I help someone else have this experience if I'm not having it myself? How can I bring abundance over to that person over there if I'm not feeling abundant right now? If I don't feel like I can pay my bills? Well, the truth is, you can always find someone else that's having a much lower vibration experience than you. And when you give it's to that person that which they need, which is also a reflection of what you need, you're saying to the universe very clearly, I've got this. I've got this, and I'm giving it away, so you better start bringing me more of it, because I'm going to keep giving it away. And you know what the universe does? Yeah, it brings it to you. It brings that abundance to you. I try to remind myself of these things when I see people out in the world going through the struggles that they're going through, people that are living on the street, people that are having a tough day, like, that sort of thing. That was the whole purpose of these pass along cards, is to shift people's energy. And even if I'm in a bad mood, even if I'm struggling or whatever, I know that there's someone else, probably that person in front of me. There's probably 100 people in front of me as I walk down the street that are in a very different place and significantly different than where I'm at. And if I just start giving it away, if I start giving the smiles away, if I pull into my pocket, I pull out my wallet, and I know this is, I don't have that much money, but I give this away, it's a very powerful statement. And it will attract into your life big things. Be the source of something else. So like, for example, if I'm looking for love in my life, well, maybe I could be the source of finding love or having conversations around love with someone else. Or maybe I can just exude love in general to all of you in this room, to my friends in the back of the room, to my dog or my dad or my brothers and siblings or whatever. Exuding love is the love energy, and if I'm putting the love energy out to everybody else, the universe is going to want to give it back to me. And if I'm concentrated on thinking about the desire of someone specific in my life, then the universe is going, okay, well, we'll send that person your way. Here he or she comes or whatever, right? So, so be the source to others of that which you're looking and seeking for yourself. Be, do, have is another tool. Conversation with guys is the old paradigm, and I think this has shifted for a lot of people, is I have to have this first, and then in order for me to be able to do this, in order for me to be happy, I need to have a successful job or money to do the things with that money in order for me to be abundant, right? What if you reverse that to, I'm going to be abundant, I'm going to do things that abundant people do, and then I'm just going to end up having abundance as a result of that. It may not look in the same way that I'm thinking it should look, but it will be a form of abundance. So that's another be, do, have. Just think about that. These are all things that if you kind of put into your presence, into your space, some kind of reminder, which is one of the actual things in here. It's like how many of you have a phone on you pretty much most of the day, all day? It's the ultimate manifesting device. And it's also one of the most distracting devices, but you can use it for good, people. You can use it for good. Ironically, I'm sitting here I talk about, there's this lack of engagement that people have in the world today. You can go to a restaurant and see people sitting at the table on their cell phones, not talking to each other, right? Because there's part of this is disconnectedness too, right? But it's also can be a very powerful tool. And I'm in the business of getting people's businesses on their phone. So I apologize, everybody, for being a part of that. But it can also be a tool for good, because you can set things on your phone, those little reminders, like a little bing, read desire statement, and you just pull out your phone and pull up that notes and go, and then move on. That's how simple it is, right? Energy's flowed. It's happening. It's going out there. And then one of the other things is to have a support system. Is to, if you don't already have a support system that will support you, will remind you, that will check in with you around the things that you want most in life, then seek one. Right? So I got a great family. I'm one of the luckiest people I feel alive as far as my family. I'm very grateful for the friends that I have, but I also go even further than that. I've part of a men's group I've been a part of a men's group for a few years, maybe close to 4 years now, where every single week the four of us meet on Zoom, and we talk about what's going on in our lives, and we share, and we celebrate, and we frustrate, and when we do all the things, and there's that support system. There's some accountability that's going on there. There is sometimes just saying the things that we need to say that we wouldn't normally say, and they're just holding the space so that we can hear what we have to say to go, Jesus, that's ridiculous, right? Why am I even thinking that? Why am I even doing that? Or for them to reflect back to us questions so that we can find our own answers and shift our energy and activate a whole nother flow of energy. So a support system is a very powerful tool. How many of you have a support system that you connect with on a regular basis? Great. Bring your desires to them and say, this is what I really want to manifest. This is what I am manifesting in my life right now. We don't want the want anymore, right? This is what I'm manifesting in my life right now, and I'm going to do these things in order to send out to the universe the people, the places, the things, or the experiences is going to make that possible, and I need your help with this, and this is how. Ask for it, and it'll be asked and it will be given. So, so those are just kind of a handful of different tools. So here's the process. The process of the habit of attraction is that we acknowledge that all things that are possible for us exist already in some energetic form. It could be people, it could be places, it could be feelings, it could be experiences, it could be travel, whatever. All those things exist. But if you get really clear on what your desires are, what your dream life looks like, even in the simplest forms of a list, here's my travel list, here's my contribution list, here's my health list, here's my money list, here's my relationships list. If you just do that life list process, then you'll have this buffet of desires and dream life things to pick from, and just grab one out, write a desire statement, put reminders in place, and just start playing with this, because you've got this wonderful tapestry of life and possibility that's in front of you that you can tap into and use at any point, and all you got to do is just play around with and pick it and do it. If we just sit here and just kind of go through the minutiae of life, the challenges of life, without acknowledging and recognizing that we are truly in control of our experiences. Even if the shit experiences come into our life, we're in control of what those things will mean to us. And that you can turn that around, or you can make that into something even more powerful and better and transformational for you, so that you become the next grandest version of yourself. But that's there, and if you just put those simple things in place and be consistent with it, then you will absolutely be the habit. It will be the habit of attracting the exact dream life that you want, and that your journey on this life will be delicious. So if hopefully in some way I've inspired you to explore this, play around with this. If you, this is not a promotional thing, but if you want a little bit deeper into some of these things, if you just go onto Vimeo, if you want to see the 40-year-old Robert, go to Vimeo and type in Habit of Attraction. You'll see the 40-year-old Robert, and there's some videos on there that you can watch for free about the Habit of Attraction. But I appreciate you guys taking the time, allowing me the space to kind of share with this, because I'm vibrating at a whole nother level right now, and I just recognize, even in myself, what I have in front of me, what I'm capable of doing, and I haven't been doing it, but now I'm going to change that. I'm going to shift that. And you all in this room, and anybody that's watching this video right now, have made that possible for me. So I'm in massive gratitude to all of you. So thank you for allowing me this space. Cool.